Hello and welcome to another episode of the Liverpool Connection podcast. I am Daz and Steve is with me. Hiya, Steve. You all right, mate?
All right, mate.
You ready to go? You ready for these next 45 minutes?
Oh yeah, looking forward to speaking to our guest today.
Well, as everyone knows, we usually talk about Liverpool Football Club and bring the stories of that great club to our podcast, but we also like to bring people on to talk about the city, to talk about their life, and who better than one of the best tour guides and a Beatles tour guide at that is Jackie Spencer. Hiya, Jackie.
Oh yeah.
Doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing sound. Mate. We'll try and do this in full on scouse if you want.
Later on, we'll put subtitles down there. You know, that's the newest thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, let's start from the beginning. Obviously, Beatles fan, because if you weren't, it'd just be really weird.
It'd be hard going to work every day, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but yeah, you gotta love your job, so obviously you do. So when did you first start, like, getting into the Beatles music?
Well, I was born in the 60s in Liverpool, but only, born in the 60s. I didn't grow up with the Beatles, or did I? Do you know what? So, yeah, I remember the songs when I'm about 3 years old. I remember singing I Want to Hold Your Hands at family parties and things. So I'll give my age away. I was born in 61. And so, I'll tell you what, the day my mum and dad got married, they had the wedding reception in this place called the Blessed Sacrament. I don't know whether you remember all these places, but it was our local church in Walton Vale in Liverpool, just up the road from Anfield, actually, not far. And the day they had the wedding reception in the church hall, the Beatles were playing upstairs.
Oh
And
wow!
so they've just always been part of our life, really. So you don't think of yourself as a fan. They're just in your DNA if you've grown up in Liverpool. That's how I feel, anyway.
And how did you get started with the tours?
Well, I was a travel agent for years. I worked for Mersey Docks and Harbour Company. We used to do a lot of the travel for the football clubs, but usually the blue one. And yeah, so in the travel agency while I was working there, I saw an advert that said, "You love your city, do you like to meet people, and do you speak relatively clearly?" That was one of the things. So I had a telephone voice from the travel agency. And so I just I answered this ad, and it turned out it was to be a blue badge tourist guide. So at that time, Liverpool wasn't such a big tourist city. It's always been a fantastic city, but it wasn't full on tourism. But I did this course because I wanted to bring people back into Liverpool. I'd spent all my life since I was 16 sending people away on holiday. So I fancied, redressing the balance and bringing them in a bit. So I did this course, passed it with flying colours. I had to do a separate one, and that was for me to be a Liverpool guide, to talk about Liverpool, the city. But then I did an extra module, which was as a Beatles tour guide, set up in business doing that. So I'm proudly wearing my blue badge, actually, that's what it is. So I set up as, excuse me, Beatles tours and just took it from there. So it was a slow burner, really. It wasn't an overnight success. I still needed other jobs to keep me going, but then it became my life.
Hey,
Hey, Jackie, it's great to see you again. For
Hey, Steve.
for everyone who doesn't know, I've been able to had the privilege of meeting Jackie a couple of times on
Yeah,
my trips over to Liverpool, and it always makes it a great experience.
I bet you're
She
missing
claimed
it.
I always miss it. Jackie claims she doesn't like football, but every time I'm over there, she's hanging out with all of us that are all Liverpool all the time. So I think she has a soft spot in her heart for the Reds over there.
I do. I just don't. They're not my religion like some people are in Liverpool. And being a Liverpool girl when you've grown up um, with avid supporters, it gets a bit tiring when your whole life is around the fixtures list. And so it turned me off a little bit to football. But obviously, I'm delighted when one of our local teams win, and it doesn't really matter to me which team. I don't know if you all know. I should have brought out a prop because I've got a mini one. But I don't know if you know that the corporate colour. You'll know, Steve, from doing the tour. But the corporate colour of Liverpool is purple, and that's because when they were changing everything, so our rubbish bins, our trash cans, are bright purple. When the city were changing the colours, they went to the people and they said, what colour do you think's good for our city? Half of them said red, half of them said blue, so we got purple. So I'm purple like the bins.
Yeah, you are purple like the bins. Hey,
I am.
So tell our viewers and our subscribers the name of your tour, so that when they listen to our episode, they'll be able to look for you.
To be honest, if you just search for my name, Jackie Spencer, and Beatles, you'll find me all over the internet. But the website is beatleguide.com. But you just by searching my name, you should be able to find me. And I did that. I used to just run it as a Beatles tour company, but then I thought, you know what? No, it's me. I've worked hard to get the information I've got and the knowledge I've got, and so it's me. It's just me. So it's just my name, really. Yeah.
Speaking about the knowledge that you've gained doing your tours, how has it changed from the very beginning when you started doing the Beatles tours? Because I know it's not the same as when you first started. You've added a lot of different stops, and I'm sure you've gained a lot of knowledge by doing that and meeting other people.
So my teeth were cut, as it were, on the Magical Mystery Tour bus. And so that's, it's a 2-hour bus trip that goes around Liverpool a few times a day. So I started working for Cavern City Tours on that. I'm still freelance. And, that's all your basic knowledge. That's your Penny Lane, your Strawberry Field, a house for each Beatle. But I just got deeper and deeper into it all and started to reshare. A lot of the knowledge was there already from growing up here. But I just went deeper and deeper into it. So now I've got tours that can last days. And there's always something to do. So I do a full-on 2-day tour, private tour, and that gives you meets and greets with some of the guys who were there, like the Quarrymen, like Frida Kelly, who was the fan club secretary. They come along on the tour and you get an hour or so with them to chat. I'll take you out as far as Wales and see where the Beatles met the Maharishi in Bangor, that kind of thing. So I could go on forever, to be honest with you. The standard tour now, I've had to expand it to at least 4 hours, and that's because Strawberry Field has opened up as a visitor centre. So I don't think you've been yet, have you, Steve?
No, I haven't.
No. Yeah, so since 2019, that became a really interesting visitor centre, which takes another half hour to do if you're going to stop for a cup of tea and things. So it's continually changing, continually moving. Yeah, it's a good challenge for me.
Hey, it seems like I think when I was in Liverpool 2015, 2016, there the Beatles Museum was just starting, if I remember correctly, right? And
so the second Beatles Museum.
Yeah. Right down there by the docks.
So no, the museum down by the docks has been there since the 1980s.
Okay.
There's a new museum opened up in Matthew Street as well. So when I started, so my Beatles tour business started in 1995, and it was a lot more low key then. But since then, we won this big award in 2008 in Liverpool. We became the European City of Culture, and a lot of investors came into our city and started to spend money on things like the Liverpool One shopping district, and everything started to expand then. So we became a touristy city, which sometimes I liked it better before, and it was just a little bit our secret, but now the city is absolutely inundated. Weekends it's full of hen parties, stag parties, because we're a party capital. We did have the status of World Heritage Site, but your rivals Everton put paid to that. One of the criteria that took away the World Heritage status was new developments down by the docks, and the Everton Stadium was kind of the final straw. But do you know what? If people are going to stifle us in Liverpool, then we don't want your silly little award. Sorry to anybody who really loves being the World Heritage Site, but you can't keep Liverpool down and you can't stifle us. We're a forward-thinking city. Does that make sense?
Oh, it does, because when and I know Daz has seen the change of the city since he was growing up, and that designation of as being the cultural center, right?
Yeah.
In 2008, that had to have kind of changed the way you're doing your business as well. That
Yeah.
you know you're getting people from outside out of the country, because I know I've seen pictures of you. You have groups from Norway, Far East, are coming over from America, and I imagine it's pretty fun to have to host different nationalities.
Well, to be honest, for me, it's always been that way. Almost all my business is from further afield. The locals tend to just go on like the open top tours or something, you know. But for me, it's always been avid Beatle fans who've come from all over the world. So I've always had that international crowd over here. And of course, the past 2 years, we've missed you all. It's been quite tough, to be honest. But for me, it's always been international. But now, when you come to Liverpool, it's it's just like thousands and thousands of people. Maybe there's a cruise ship in, and 3,000 people have just got off the cruise ship, and you've got to stand in line to get your picture at Penny Lane and Strawberry Field. And every man and his dogs call themselves a tour guide now, when there used to be a handful of us professional ones. So it's turned. It's not quite Disney World yet, but if we let it go on too much, it'll get that way. So I like to wind it in a little bit, and I like doing tours in the winter because you don't have to stand in line for your pictures and things. So some of it could become tacky if they let it.
You had mentioned Frida Kelly. I had the pleasure of having lunch with her when on one of my trips there. She's an amazing person.
She's a sweetheart.
She is, and do you? How can I say this? But has she, when she's been on your tours and helping you, I imagine that had been quite the honor for her to endorse what you're doing and how you're doing your business.
An honor for me, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And it's open and lovely as she is, Frida. It takes some. It takes time for people like her to trust people, because there's a lot of people just out for a fast buck and things. But so I built up a friendship with Frida over the years, and Colin and Len from the Quarrymen, and it's a mutual thing. I'll help them out, they'll help me out. But it's a love now. It's people that I absolutely love. It's not, I'm not exploiting them in any way. We're all helping each other, and you know what? During the lockdown, Frida phoned me every week, as did Colin from the Quarrymen, and I spoke to Frida to see how she was. And yeah, they're just my family now. It's lovely.
Is your business fundamentally different during football season than during the summer?
It's not massively different. I'm still incredibly busy. The problem is people can't get a decent hotel of a weekend when Liverpool are playing. If I've got a tour which goes out via Anfield, I have to reschedule it all because we can't get near the streets. But it's not in a way that lots of football fans take tours. They do. I mean, like you've mentioned before, I get a lot of Norwegians coming in, but it makes life quite difficult when the match is on. Things like I can't get I rent in drivers in beautiful Mercedes or minibuses. When the footy's on, they're all busy. And so it does have an effect, but it's kind of a negative effect in some ways. So I try not to work on a match day if I've got a big tour, or if it's a tour that go anywhere near Anfield. Most of the Beatles sites are in South Liverpool, so it's only on specialist tours that I'll go up to Anfield. But I have to factor that in when I'm working on the route.
We have a mutual friend, Ken Solomon, who's been on our show previously, and he's incorporated your tour with the trips that he takes back to Liverpool. How did that relationship start? Because, he's one of my favorite people as well. And it's very interesting how you integrated there.
Yeah, Ken contacted me probably via my website. Do you know what? I can't even remember how we first got chatting, but I assume he emailed me via the website and started to book me to jump on and do a Beatles tour for his Sports Quest trips. And is that right? Sports Quest Sports.
Quest
You know what I
Sports.
mean? It's Quest Sports. And so yeah, we just developed a friendship over the time. So whenever Ken's over, I'll come and do a tour or come and do an ale trail. Do you know what? One of the last jobs I did before lockdown was a couple of days with Ken.
Mhm.
And I've got this lovely picture hugging Alan Kennedy in the Rigby's pub. Do you remember Rigby's, Daz? On
Yeah.
on Victoria Street, is it Dale Street? So it's a picture of me and Alan Kennedy with our arms around each other. Lovely picture. But after that, you couldn't touch anyone for 2 years. Do you know what I mean? And so that's kind of a nice treasured picture, and that was from one of Ken's trips. And so I'm always pretty quiet in the winter, but because of Ken's tours, that's a few little nice little weekends or Fridays with him. But of course, I've not had any of that this year because he hasn't been able to come over. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that'll all be sorted soon.
Yeah, we hope so too. Daza?
Yeah, I always like it because with Liverpool, football and music just go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So that's something that a lot of people that come over they want the full experience.
Yeah.
And it's not just the Beatles tour; it's just tour of the docks, tour.
Yeah.
Liverpool. There's city centre. That's just shopping. It is basically.
Yeah. Shopping and boozing.
Yeah, boozing and shopping. Spending your money whichever way you feel like it. But I'm going to put you on the spot. Who is your favourite Beatle?
George. Wasn't hard.
Oh wow! And why is that?
Well, it started off. Let's go way back to the '60s when I was a kid. My dad's called George, and he's at the same age as the Beatles. My dad, he's Liverpool Irish, and he had the quiff like George, and he looks a bit like George. So when I was a little girl, people would say, "Who's your favourite Beatle, Jack?" And I'd say, "Well, like George, like my daddy, of course." But then it just grew up. They're both Pisces fish. They're both kinds of they're quietly witty. Paul McCartney's lovely, but he's a pretty boy. John Lennon's a bit scary, but George was just lovely. And so, lovely, thoughtful, kind, good looking. What's not to love about George? So that wasn't putting me on the spot. That was easy.
That was easy. And I've been waiting to ask this question because top 5 singles.
Top 5 singles. You could ask me today and I'll tell you something, and then next week I'll tell you something different.
I know that's the great thing about Beatles music.
I'll tell you the song I grew up with, the song I used to love when I was a little kid. And there's certain songs when your heart goes, "Oh, I love this," when the minute the first line comes on. One of them is All My Lovin'. Absolutely love that. Another one, and I've only just realised why, and it's do 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 do, I give her all my love. Forgot what it's called now. That's all I do. So that song, I always loved it, but it was a Paul McCartney song. But then I watched an interview with Paul quite recently when he just said to George, "Oh, do an interview for this," and George went do 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 do, and that's what makes the song, and that's what makes my heart skip a beat. But there's one that I love to. I'm always singing on tours. Not that I can sing, but when the music's on, you can't help yourself, can you? And so, Steve, you've probably seen me sat there singing along at the front of the coach.
I wouldn't. I'm not going to tell.
But one of them is the harmonies are beautiful if they're done properly, and that's "If I Fell" by John Lennon. So there's 3. I always loved "She's Leaving Home" when I was growing up. And let's have a think. What's another one? I like "Across the Universe." But ask me again next time and I'll tell you 5 completely different ones.
A quick one with that then, "Across the Universe." How did you think did you like the movie?
I did, but I'm going to confess something to you now. I've only ever seen half of it because I used to come home from a hard day's tour and hard day's night, sit down to watch that film, and every single time I watched it I fell asleep halfway through. Nothing to do with the film, just because I'm not a late night person. And then my son lent it to his girlfriend, who became his ex-girlfriend, and so I never got it back. And just this year for my birthday, I told you I had a big birthday. One of the presents off my son was Across the Universe. We haven't sat down and watched it yet, but I liked some of the treatments they gave to the songs. Some of them were really good.
All you need to do now is fast forward to the halfway part.
I do.
What's the other?
I do, but now it's that long ago that I've forgotten all the other bits.
It's amazing because it's actually one of my favourite like musical films. Moulin Rouge is actually my other one. But Jim Sturgis did an amazing job. I mean, he actually sang, which was boss.
Do you know, this is probably controversial, but I actually prefer their version of I Want You to the Beatles version. The Beatles, John and Yoko singing away, it's a bit of a dirge. Sorry, John, sorry, Yoko, sorry, anybody who loves that song. But the treatment they gave it when it was like, I want you in the army for Vietnam with the posters, I thought that was really clever. I like that. But my favourite kind of fantasy Beatle film recently is Yesterday. I think it's wonderful, that film. It's brilliant. Such a feel-good movie is exactly what we need right now.
Yeah. I watched it about a month ago, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, there's some people just nitpick on Beatles stuff, and they're just like, well, this wouldn't have happened, and this and this. It's a movie. It's just a movie.
If you do go and have a look on my website, there's a blog page, and I went to see it when it first came out. I saw a preview, and then I saw it 4 times on the pictures, taking notes the next few times, because there's so many little things you would not notice. So if you go on my website and look on the blog page, I've listed all the little things that I saw that were really clever little, they call them Easter eggs, don't they? Lots of really cool little Easter eggs in there. So if you read that and then watch it again, it might you might enjoy it even more.
At least you watched the whole movie.
Oh yeah, I did watch the whole one. That was because it was in the pictures. That was because it was in the cinema, and I don't want to fall asleep snoring there, do I?
It's so crazy when you say pictures as well. It's like I haven't been to the pictures in probably 2.5 years because of pandemic.
Yeah.
So
I went to see James Bond last week in funny enough, not in Liverpool, in the Odeon Huddersfield, which was empty, so I don't think I caught anything there.
Steve, I'm gonna put you on the spot now. Your top 5 Beatles.
You talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you.
Eleanor Rigby, I like because I sang that in junior high.
Yeah.
I guess imagine, everybody likes that, right?
Yeah, but that's more John Lennon. That's not the Beatles.
Let's see. Hard Day's Night. I like that song. Yeah, don't put me on the spot like that, man.
It's not easy. Come on. Okay, let's turn the tables on Daz.
Yeah, he's the music dude.
Well, one of my favourites is Here Comes the Sun. But it means much more to me now because when I take my kids to school, I play it every morning. So, I mean, they know all the lyrics, and it's just great for them, to hear what Daddy likes. Like, I truly am a Beatles fan. My dad was a Stones fan. My mum was an Elvis fan, and I was a Beatles fan. Blackbird.
Oh, beautiful.
It's amazing. All My Loving.
What a wine.
Yeah, it's just a great groovy song, and
the way they go straight into it. It's just like it's hard to sing them because the Beatles don't give you just go wow right into the song. Brilliant.
And then 2.5 minutes, it's done. Yeah. I Am the Walrus because it was where they just changed into psychedelic music, and I'd never heard that before. I
love that album, Magical Mystery Tour. I love it.
It's a fantastic album, but a lot of people will look at like Revolver and Hard Day's Night, more than the obscure ones. But and the White Album as well. But I Am the Walrus just like opened my mind without having to take drugs, which was really good.
You know the story behind that one?
Uh-uh.
So John's childhood friend was Pete Shotton, and they both went to Quarrybank School in Liverpool, which is now called Calderstones. And a boy apparently wrote to John and said, so we've been asked to analyse Beatles songs in our old classes, in your old school, in our English classes, can you help us? So John had a laugh. He said to his mate Pete Shotton, and Daz, I might take you back to your childhood years now, because there was a horrible rhyme, Steve, we all used to sing in Liverpool when we were kids. See if you can join in. The one that goes, yellow matter custard, green snot pie, all mixed together with a dead dog's eye. Slap it on a butty, nice and thick, and wash it all down with a cold cup of sick. So it was the grossest things you could think of in this song. So John Lennon wrote back to this boy after consulting with Pete. He said, Dear Steve, and I enclose the lyrics to my latest song. Analyse that. And it features some of the words, a lot of nonsense poetry, and it features all the stuff from Yellow Matter Custard, Green Snap Pie. So did that take you back then, Daz?
It did. Yeah, no, I actually remember half those lyrics, but just singing it on the bus.
Yeah.
And then the old people looking back just going, the youth today.
Yeah.
Hey Jackie,
you sing a hell of a lot worse now. I've heard the lyrics of some of them rap songs.
Oh yeah,
10 times, 100 times worse.
Jackie, you were mentioning that how that you learned about the background of that song. What are some of the other things that you've learned over the years that you didn't really know at the beginning, and that's kind of surprising and for people to know?
A lot of stuff. So for example, you've just said that your favourite song, one of your favourites, is Eleanor Rigby, and just because I did this research about one particular house in Liverpool, and I found out loads about the real Eleanor Rigby. So Paul says that he wrote that song and he called it, he's been talking a lot about his lyrics lately, and he called it Miss Daisy Hawkins to start with. So with Paul, his melody came and then the lyrics fitted into the melody. John was a little bit more about the lyrics. And so he was walking through the streets of Bristol with his girlfriend Jane Asher, and he saw a shop called Rigby and Evans, so that was where the Rigby came in. Then they were filming Help with this actress called Eleanor Bron, and so he put the two together, came up with Eleanor Rigby. But then years later, you've seen it, they found the grave of Eleanor Rigby in the churchyard where Bob Paisley is buried, funny enough. And so then I began researching the real Eleanor Rigby, and it turns out her husband had lived in a house where John Lennon lived. Her husband was lodging there where John Lennon's uncle lived and John himself. She lived right round the corner from the family. She lived in another house just up the road. So the real Eleanor Rigby's path was into crossing with Auntie Mimi and Uncle George all the time, so they must have known her. But of course, John's uncle, who would have probably delivered milk to her, he was the village milkman, he died before John wrote any songs. You know, John was just 14 before he died, and I don't think Auntie Mimi was that interested in the stories behind the songs. And it was Paul who wrote the song anyway. So just little things like that, you know, you get deeper into them. But now I've just learned something new about Eleanor Rigby, in that Paul said, he's brought out a new book called The Lyrics, hasn't he? And in that, I haven't bought the book, but I've listened to a lot of his interviews, and he says that he used to, when he was a Boy Scout, he used to do Baba Job Week, and they used to go and visit the elderly and take food parcels to them and things. And there was one woman he always used to go and visit, and she used to keep a jar of Nivea face cream by the door, and that's the face that she keeps in a jar by the door. So I learned that just 2 weeks ago. It's constant learning. I love it.
Wow, that must be some old Nivea.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, don't put that on your face.
Yeah, the stories behind the songs, the stories behind the families, it's really fascinating, the whole story. And for me, it's not just about the songs, it's about the social interaction. Growing up in Liverpool, like Paul and me were born in the same hospital, his mum was a midwife who might have delivered my dad. It's the social history of Liverpool. And one thing that Paul's just recently said is that when he went to school, it was when the grammar school system started. And if that grammar school system and the National Health Service hadn't been introduced, they wouldn't have had the education that they did. And so I think it's about the way social history has changed in Liverpool. I won't comment politically, but it's gone backwards again now, but it was good back then.
Do you do any tours by Casbah?
Yeah, I go to the Casbah all the time. Yeah, in West Derby.
Yeah, because I been talking to Pete Bester's son, Rogue. Yeah, nice lad. Because we'd love to have Pete Best on as well. So he just seems like a character.
Yeah, Rogue's a real character. But I take people into the Casbah. They spend about an hour in there, usually with Rogue himself. And I go for the cup of coffee because I've heard his story a million times, but it's still fascinating. But I don't know if he told you, they're turning the Casbah into a hotel as well. So it'll be apartments upstairs. And that's not only good for Beatle fans, it's also walking distance to Anfield. It's a long walk, but it's not far. So it's a good mixture for Beatles and football.
More room for people to stay. Yeah. It's just getting overcrowded, especially match days. Ticket wise, it's just insane. But trying to find a hotel on a match weekend is just, unless you've booked it, well in advance.
It's slightly sad because my dad was one of the ones who used when I'm trying to explain to visitors who come to the city, so why is the football ground right next to all these streets? I'm like, because when it was built, the people used to have their breakfast, go to the pub and walk down the end of the street to go to the match. They didn't fly in from Norway and Boston and everything.
Right.
That was how it worked. And now those people have been priced out of the game, haven't they? The ordinary working class people who live around the ground couldn't afford a ticket for the match. So I do think that's slightly sad.
Yeah, I'm totally agree with you. A lot of my mates just can't afford it. And they used to be season ticket holders, but it's just the way of the world now.
It's all about the money, isn't it?
It is, but I do like it that it's a global thing now to support Liverpool. And you get that chance to come, but there's always in the back of my mind just going, there's one Scouser that really wanted to go to the match and he can't.
What upsets me a little bit is that it's the corporate tickets when people who are not even interested in football, all the dolly birds, God, look, they sound like I'm ancient, all them little dolly birds, they all go and enjoy the corporate hospitality and stand in a box and don't even watch the game. That's what I don't like.
I think it's ruining football. I mean, all you need to do is look at the Champions League final.
Yeah.
And there was only 20-something thousand, I think, for Spurs and for Liverpool fans. And the rest were corporate.
I'm going to get into trouble for saying dolly birds and the dolly men as well. You know what I mean? It's not just the girls, because I know there's so many female supporters out there in the States, like Amy Kate runs the group and everything. So you knew what I meant then. I mean, the what you call them, all the party people who are not interested in football, men and women and everything else.
Yeah, it's just
I'm so careful now.
It's just a place to get your picture taken and get it in the news and all that, and get
Instagram it all. Yeah.
Oh God, I can't stand all that.
I'll tell you the best thing I ever saw at Anfield though.
Besides me, go.
Paul McCartney.
Oh yeah, he beats me out. Damn it.
So Paul McCartney's gig at Anfield was absolutely amazing. It was a one-off, it was for the City of Culture, 1st of June 2008, and it wasn't one of his part of a world tour when he sings all the same songs. It was spectacular. It was absolutely brilliant, and so I still play some of those songs on the tour. And one of the things he says on it, he stands up, and I've got a recording of it. He says, I was born just down the road from me, Walton Hospital, and we're all like, yeah, me too. And he said, and I used to live round the corner, Sunbury Road, and he literally lived, just 2 streets away from Anfield until he was just under 1 year old. So he grew up in, he lived in the Anfield area. There's loads of pictures of him as a little kid in Stanley Park with his brother and his mum. So that area he knows well, but he couldn't come out and swear allegiance to a team because they knew half the city wouldn't buy their records, so they kept it all quiet.
I like
George
it.
Well, I was going to say George was the clever one. When they asked George which team he supported, he said Tranmere Rovers.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I liked it when I think it was a few years ago when Paul went back to his house, and then he did
karaoke.
He did the concert.
Yeah.
And
in the film,
nobody knew it was him, right?
Oh, that was a brilliant day for me. I don't know whether you know this story. So before everybody knew he was in town, I'd done an early tour. I'd done a tour that started, must have been 9 o'clock, so it was about 12 o'clock. I get to the statue, which is there behind me. I get to the statue and I'm just saying goodbye to these people. I had 2 more tours that day, so I'm saying goodbye. My car's waiting for them because the chauffeur I had was going to drive them on to Bath. And the next minute, this black car pulls up and Paul McCartney and James Corden get out. So nobody knew at that point he was in town. That was the first time he showed his face was there. So I'm with these 4 Americans. Paul McCartney walks over, poses by the statue, and then just, does a few little pictures and walks back again. And the guys on the tour are like, Jackie, thank you so much. Did you know? And I'm like, it took me ages to work out that it wasn't a lookalike, to be honest with you. So I tweeted it then. And then everybody knew he was in town and they followed him all around the place. But the tweet I put out, it said, it's not often Paul McCartney comes on my tour. It's on the show. So if you watch Carpool Karaoke, my tweet is there on the screen. So I ended up on the BBC News and everything. So that was a really cool day.
Some good press for you right there.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. They even paid me for the photograph. The BBC bought a picture of me. Can't retire on the money, like it's only £100, but
Hey, I wanted to ask you a question. Obviously in the last couple of years, Liverpool's and all of the UK, with the shutdowns, a lot of places have had some hard times remaining open. I know a very important part of the Beatles experience is the Cavern, obviously. And I know they were having some problems, but can you kind of give us up to date on how it's going over there now?
Yeah. The Cavern did very well in the end because they got there was I've forgotten what they call, like a culture fund, and the Cavern got about £500,000 to stay open and to do things like put in air conditioning, which will bring the fresh air in, and a better sound system and things. So the Cavern Club had a staged opening, and at first there were only very small crowds allowed in, but they're back to full capacity pretty much now. But they've got this fresh air pumping system because obviously the Cavern is right down under the ground, isn't it? And so they were able to buy that. And Matthew Street is at full capacity now. Nice. And I'm not sure whether it's a good thing or not, to be honest, because COVID is still out on the streets here in England. It's still not under control, but we're all, those who want to be, are vaccinated. But Matthew Street, you wouldn't even know there was a pandemic on at the moment. It's just back to the way it was. Crazy over weekend and really crazy on match days.
We'll have to see in the next, months or so how that, pans out, because it's been scary the past 2 years.
I don't want to scare people away. I honestly don't. But we've still got 200 people a day dying in the UK, and we're only a little country, I think they're trying to brush it under the carpet and pretend it's not still there. As we speak right now, my little 6-year-old grandson's got COVID, and he's doing all right. He's doing fine. But it's rife around the schools. All the school kids are getting it, and we've got to live with it now. I think that's the whole thing. But there needs to be some kind of happy medium, I suppose. But I don't want to put people off travelling here, as long as I don't. I used to be a big party animal. I never go down the Cavern myself anyway. So I think if you just stay vigilant and stay careful, you're all right.
I think if you're a Liverpool musician, the Cavern is is your like ultimate, you know, like
Yeah.
Jamie Webster. I saw played there, and he was chuffed to bits. I mean, you know, that's what you think of Liverpool when you think of music as the Cavern.
Yeah, totally.
It's just one of those where you just want to go. But yeah, air conditioning in there would really help because going down there, the sweat that comes down
Well,
that
it's
wall.
helped. It's helped because of, it used to be absolutely roasting, and it didn't make you buy more drink. It just made you have to go up to get some fresh air. But now the system's made a hell of a difference. But it's good that it's fresh air pumped in. It's not recycled air, which is what they needed. So it's a lot safer down there than it was before the pandemic, and that was partly due to this funding that they got to fix that.
How 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 did you get involved with the Cirque du Soleil, the Love Show?
Hi. Um, so I think I was approached by the tourist office. They wanted somebody to take the Cirque du Soleil on a tour. So I didn't know anything about the whole show that was going on. And so when we met them, there was about 11 of them, I think, but it was the top bods. You know, the guy who founded the Cirque du Soleil is called Guy de Laliberty, and he was close to George Harrison, and I think it was Danny Harrison that arranged the whole thing. So they had certain questions for me, asking me about bomb sites and things like this, and where was Julia killed. So when I actually saw the show, all the questions they'd asked me made sense. And so they came with me, and then the writer was called Dominic Champagne. He came back again and spent a few days just doing taxi tours with me. And then one day he said there might be 3 of us tomorrow on the tour. Is that okay? And I was like, yeah, it's fine. I said, the car can take up to 5, so me and any 4. And so the next day only 2 of them turned up. So I said, oh, your 3rd person couldn't make it? And he went, oh no, I didn't want to tell you, but it was George Martin. I was like, oh. So I missed out on taking George Martin round.
Been this close.
Yeah.
Hey, Jackie, when people want to book a tour with you, are they do you have times already set, or you work with them on what's best for them?
I totally work with them. That's why I don't have a booking system.
Okay.
So you don't just go in and book a date and time, and then so I just encourage them to email me, and we'll have a chat, and I work it around their time. So I'll meet them at the hotel. Do you know what I've started to do now? I had set tours, which was like a Ticket to Ride tour, a Here, There, Everywhere tour, which was set times. But now I've started to do one that they just book me for how many hours, and then we just get chatting, and we do a magical mystery tour that I basically, when I say make up as we go along, that's a little bit, that's not quite what it is. But I can gauge from them. I've done it for so long now. I can work out if the tour they've booked is the wrong one for them, and I can do your basic tour, but I can tailor the extra things around what they want to do. Like if they want to go for a drink in the Phil, they want to go and see Anfield, that kind of thing. So I've done that because people were choosing the wrong tour. Like for example, somebody turned up with a little kid. They booked a 7-hour tour, and I said, so at 11 o'clock we'll be in the Casbah, and they said to me, what's the Casbah? And I was like, you know what, mate, this is not the tour for you. Let's reassess it all and do something different. And so that's what I do now. I'm pretty good at reading people, I think, and if I can tell that they're getting really bored, which doesn't happen often, but there might be one person who's not into it at all. So I'll work out what is there, what do they like? Do they like architecture or something? And I'll add little bits to that. So although people are always booking a Beatles tour with me, you'll probably remember I also give loads of information about Liverpool. Like I'll tell you that Paul McCartney didn't get to sing in the choir at the cathedral, but I'll tell you who built the cathedral, when it was built. I'll tell you other things about it. So I slot in all this Liverpool information, so you go home with a lot of Liverpool stuff as well as the Beatles. And sometimes people, it might be obvious that they're more interested in history than they are about the Beatles, so I'll tailor it that way. It's about reading your audience, isn't it? Yeah, I suppose it's the same with football. You play one team differently than you'd play another team. Well, not that I've ever played, so I'm guessing that.
Do you know Ian Salmon?
I don't think so.
He did the play. Girls don't play guitars.
Oh no, do you know what? I never went to see that. I should have done, but no, I don't know Ian. I
Yeah,
know about the play though.
yeah. But, well, obviously you know about the Liver Birds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that must have been like some you know smack in the face. You know,
Mm,
going down to the Cavern, and then
yeah.
John Lennon tells you, "Yeah, girls don't play guitars," and I love the response. It's like, well, they do. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, because
John was
I
probably
love.
just winding them up, really. I don't think he'd say it nastily,
No,
but they know it better than they were there, weren't they? But I think John liked to provoke a response, and if you stood up to him, you'd be in his gang then. But there's lots of girls repeating stories like that. They were scared to go near John Lennon because he laughed at whatever they were wearing or things. I think I'd have been all right with them.
well, I dry humour as well. You know,
Yeah,
Scousers
yeah,
are known for it. You know,
yeah.
we take the mick out of everyone because we take the mick out of ourselves as well. So
We do.
so nobody else can.
No, it takes a lot to get us riled, doesn't it? Really.
Yeah, it's just the Tories that get us riled.
Don't. Yeah.
Yeah, that's again. I always say when we bring up stuff like that, that's a whole different podcast.
Oh God, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there'd be a lot of swearing on that one.
I'm supposed to stay apolitical, but it's very hard.
Yeah, it's got to be. But no, lovely to have you on. Again, we wanted the listeners to get a bit more, insight about Liverpool and about the Beatles tour. 'Cause, again, you can't talk about Liverpool without talking about the Beatles or
No.
Liverpool Football Club or that other club, down the road that we won't name on this podcast. It's not worth it.
I'm saying nothing. I'm staying purple like the bins. La, la, la.
Yeah, Jackie, it's so great to see your face again.
You too, Steve.
Hopefully I can, or Daz is going back over the holidays, I think. I'm trying to get back in the spring, so I
Yeah,
look forward
I'm
to seeing
talking
you
to
again.
Ken. I'm talking to Ken about new dates and things now. So hopefully we'll get things moving again. Yeah, because I mean it's you can come into the country now without any I think you have to do a COVID test on day 2 or something, depending on when this goes out. So the restrictions aren't so strong now. It's okay to come into the country, and I have had quite a few Americans do private tours, but who knows? We're all fed up being boxed in now, aren't we? But
That's right.
hopefully, I'll see some of you back here again soon.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah, I was going to come home for Crimbo, but I'm just going to wait till probably February, March,
Yeah,
just
it's
to be
fine.
on the safe side.
Yeah.
Just see how the next couple of months, whether it's going to get bad again or
We've waited this long, haven't we? Come back to see them win the championship again, maybe.
Well, I tried that, and then the pandemic happened.
And what a year to win so brilliantly,
Yeah,
and no one to be able to see it.
yeah.
That was awful.
I mean, they deserve a massive party. They just
Yeah.
do,
Well, to be fair, the party they had, the homecoming they had when they won the European Championship,
yeah,
that made up for Everton. That was incredible. I was trying to walk home that day, and it took me about from the city. I'd finished a tour at the Hard Days Night Hotel. To get back home, it's about 15 minutes walk. It took me about an hour and a half just to try and get home through the crowds, and just gave up and ended up dancing in the streets with them in the end.
See,
Yeah.
do you like football? We've got it out of
I
it.
like partying.
Like the party part, yeah. So Liverpool need to keep on winning, so Jackie can keep partying.
That's right. Well, thank you again, Jackie, for your time. And we'll put our a link to your tour on our website and all our
Thank
social
you.
media, so everybody will
Yeah.
reach out to you.
Have you actually, Jackie? Have you actually thought about writing a book?
Oh God, if I had a pound for everyone who said that, no, I've not. I hate writing. It feels like doing homework to me. I've made quite a few little films. I've done a few bits of like I've done what you should have a look at, Steve, and I'll send you the link. I've done like a Beatles ale trail which goes to three pubs and goes in the pub, and you go to the bar and choose your beer and all that. So I've done some virtual tours like that, and I've got into film editing while I've been doing nothing. But as to writing a book now, I just would never finish it because I'd just go off on so many tangents. You can see what I'm like already.
And get Jeff Golding to write the book. He likes to write everybody else's story. So
is that right?
Yeah.
No, I couldn't even narrow it down to a couple of stories, and there's that many books about the Beatles now. So yeah, I've not thought about it. No.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure you coming on and expanding, everybody's thought about Liverpool and the Beatles. So everyone, if you're thinking about coming over, in the next couple of months to Liverpool, please give Jackie a look up, and she'll take care of you, and you'll have an amazing time. All right, well, I guess we're gonna send off from there. It's a good place because, again, me and Steve could just keep on talking and talking and talking. But yeah, it seems like a good place to end.
So we say, what we say in Liverpool, ta-ra!
Ta-ra!
Bye, guys.
I want to hear Steve say that, actually.
Tra-la-la-la-la.